In this video we're going to look at flat 3D text in Create. Now if I open up my edit page, you'll see there are two text symbols up here. One for extruded 3D text and one for flat 3D text. This video we're going to look at the flat 3D text. If I click on it, it opens up a flat 3D text object. And if I come down here, I can now look at the properties of this object. If I wish to rename this text, I can just type in the name here by right clicking and renaming, or clicking F2. By default, auto name text is clicked. So if I type in hello there, the text object will change its name to hello. Now by either renaming the text here or turning the auto name text off, I can now just call that text1. And now it'll just stick to that name regardless of whatever text goes in there. Looking at the edit window, you'll see that the yellow corners indicate a bounding box. Within this bounding box we can align the text. For flat 3D text we have our own tool set. Within this bounding box we can align the text to the left, centered, or to the right. While we're in this menu, you can see here I have the text font. To select the text, I come up to the top of the screen and I click Edit Text. You'll see here now how my word hello has been highlighted in blue. This allows me to change the text that is selected. With flat 3D text, it is possible to just select a few characters if I want to, like this, or I can click here and just select the whole word or the whole line. So to change the font, you click on the drop down and then you can change between whatever fonts you have installed on your machine. So let's look at Arial Bold. Now, if I go back to Arial, you'll see I have the option here of making it bold or italic. Now this is effectively an override for the font that you're using. If it's already a bold font, the bold will not work, and the same for italic. What you do have to be careful with though is if you click bold here rather than choosing Arial Bold, sometimes the character spacing is not as intelligently spaced. So if I wanted a bold font, I would choose a bold font in the font drop down. Moving across, we've got bold, italic, and then we've got text effect. If I click the arrow to the right of the text effect logo, you'll see that I have a list of edges. Things like outline, soft border edges, shadow edge effect, or soft edge shadow effect. I'm going to choose soft shadow edge effect, and if you look carefully you can just see there's a bit of a shadow here. Now this has opened up a window on the right hand side which is the edge effect editor, and this allows me to edit this effect. So what I have here is this layer is the shadow layer and this layer is the text layer. If I click on the plus to the left of the edge effect layer 2, you can see I have inner radius and outer radius, and I have X and Y position here. If I move my X position out to the right, you can see how the shadow has moved out to the right here. And if I move it down further, it's moved it down further. Let's choose a normal sort of setting, which will be 4 and -4. We can control the softness of the shadow. So I can increase the softness, and you'll see that this is working in real time on the selected text as well. So that's my edge effect. The last thing to look at is the colour. At the moment it's set to white. If I click blue and OK, it changes to blue. So you've got the colour wheel to choose your colours, or you can choose from the colour palette at the bottom, or you can dial in an RGB colour. So let's go back to white Let's go back to white here. Now that colour there is what we call a colour multiplier. So if my text is here and I go to my material library, I can choose a basic colour. So let's choose a basic red. I'm going to drop that on the text now. Now if I went into my text colour and I brought down the intensity, so this text colour was black, then the text becomes black. And this is because we have multiplied these values against the RGB values of the material we've added. If it is white, what we've done is we've multiplied this 100% values with the red, giving us the red. Now I'm just going to remove that colour material now. So there we have white text with a shadow. At the moment the centre of the axis is in the middle of the bounding box. If I select my text again and I come down to the properties, I can see the origin. In this sets where the centre of the axis is relative to the object. If I choose left, you'll see that's lined up to the left hand side of the bounding box. And if I choose right, you'll see that's lined up to the right hand side of the bounding box. We're going to go back to left now. There is also a word wrap here. When this is engaged, as my text increases, it will automatically wrap when it gets to the edge of the bounding box. Hello from myself from Pixel Power. I hit enter, and there you can see how it has automatically wrapped the text before it's got to the ending box, and it will automatically look for a space between the words. Now I chose left for my origin, and you see that's chosen the center left. I could, if I wanted to, have chosen the top left, and then the text will build down from this point. If I choose the bottom left, then it will build up from this point. So let's just delete some of that text. And now we're back to here. So that's how word wrap works. We've also got the ability to compress. Now this will compress the text up to 50% of its width while it's filling the bounding box. So if we type hello Pixel Power, I misspelled that there. You see how easy it is to just modify that. That text is actually squashed just a little bit. If I increase the maximum width, you'll see that will increase back out to 100%. If I reduce the maximum width, it'll scale down to 50% of the width, and then when it gets to 50%, it will just remain at 50%. So this is very useful if you might have the odd name going into the graphic that might extend slightly over the size. So it allows you to keep the same text height but still fill the correct size box. So that's compress, and we can also select none, and none will ignore the width of the box. Now you see now how the bounding box matches the size of the text. So at the moment we've got the width of the bounding box and the height of the bounding box fixed. If we select those to automatic, both the top and the bottom, you'll see that the bounding box matches the text. Now we're in the properties, let's look at some of the things we can look at. We have the normal controls for any object, which is position, rotation, scale, offset, opacity, and of course we can hide the object. Coming down here, field association. It is possible to tag a field onto this text. This is done by clicking on primary, and that will add a field. But once it has a field, it's then possible to update it from external software and external control. Let's set that back to none. Capitalization. This will make everything all uppercase or all lowercase or uppercase first word only. So all uppercase, everything becomes uppercase. All lowercase, everything becomes full all lowercase. Uppercase first word only, just the first letter of the first word in the line. Uppercase first of every word. Now if I change that back to none, the default was I typed it in with the first uppercase for every word. We have truncation and we have padding. Now truncation allows us to truncate the text. So if we truncate from the end and we change the number of characters here, you see that is cutting off the end. And what we do is if the text is too long, we can actually automatically insert ellipses. So that's letting the viewer know that that text has been cut. The other thing which we can do with truncating the text is we can break on a word. So that will allow full words only. That'll let you know the sentence has been cut. So that's the truncation tool. We have a padding tool. So we can pad on the left. And that will allow us to add a padding character to the front. And we can change the amount of padding there if we want to. Okay. And we can pad on the right as well if we wanted to. We have the ability of putting in a prefix. Now you might use this if you wanted to put in www. Let's enter. So whatever text was typed in there, it would automatically become a www. And the same for the end. We've also got something called a suffix which adds text onto the end. So that could become .com. We've looked at the origin, we've looked at the width and the height. We can set the maximum number of lines. So if we set 2 lines, and now we go into the text, and we go Bob. Now this text tool here, before I've just been modifying the text in the bar. If I click on the ... that opens up a text editor. So I can say Bob says hello. I click OK. You'll see that the carriage returns from the text editor have come through. There's little arrows there. We can't see the word hello because that was on the 3rd line. If I increase it back up to 3 lines, we can see the word hello. So that is the text and the text editor box. And the carriage returns from whatever you put in the text editor box will come through. Let's clear that text. Back to hello. Now, mask edge. It's possible to mask the edge of the text. So I put hello from Chris. I can extend the mask on the right hand side. If I extend it positively, if the text extended, it would allow more text up to this point. If I extend in a negative way, you can see that I am now cropping the text in. This crop is actually keyframeable, so you can animate this on the timeline. So that's a built-in mask for the text. I'm just going to right click now and hit reset. And that's the, in flat 3D text, the mask edge. The next feature for the flat 3D text is clock. So I can use a clock source and I tick the box. Now I can choose my clock source. So I can add a new clock source because I don't have any existing on this page. And I can show PC date and time, a stopwatch or a countdown to date. So I'm just going to add a page clock there. And that has automatically bought the time of day from my computer and added it as the data for this text object. Last but not least, let's change this back to text. flat 3D text, if you right click up here, you have the ability of adding text effects animations. There is a separate video for text effects animations, so have a look out for that, and that'll explain how the text effects animation works.